I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and remember how big The Crying Game was? And even bigger, but not quite as surprising, was Interview with the Vampire. Well, the director of both of those flicks, Neil Jordan, made a version of Little Red Riding Hood called Company of Wolves. A 13-year-old girl takes many walks in the woods and tries to protect her innocence, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. It's the medieval My Girl. Coming up, My Girl meets Scream 3.
See Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs next on TNT.
Joe Bob Briggs, and tonight from the guy who brought you The Crying Game, The Company of Wolves, one of the artsy-fartsiest werewolf movies in the history of cinema. Kind of Little Red Riding Hood as told by Dennis Hopper in the 60s is the way I think of it. And speaking of artsy-fartsy remakes, I have a request. The next time I come to your town for any reason, do not take me downtown to where it used to be a slum, but now it's River Place Courtyard on the Square Plaza. I've already been to River Place Courtyard on the Square Plaza. I went to the one in St. Louis, and the one in Minneapolis, and the one in Memphis, and the one in Little Rock, the one in Milwaukee, and the one in Atlanta. And it usually starts out like this. Joe Bob, if you're not doing anything tonight, we have a bunch of people that'd like you to take you down to River Place Courtyard on the Square Plaza. And I say, sounds great, what is that? And they say, well, have you ever heard of Girardelli Square in San Francisco, or that place in Boston with all the shops? Well, it's like that. We built it to attract tourists back to downtown. And I say, why? They say, because all the people that live here are afraid to go there anymore. So we all go down to River Place Courtyard on the Square Plaza, and the first thing we do is we ride around in a horse buggy and look at the for lease signs in the windows. And the buggy driver tells colorful stories about what used to be there before they built River Place Courtyard on the Square Plaza Bank Center. And the driver will say, this pharmacy you see over here is on the State Register of Historic Structures. The original owners developed a mustard plaster used by President Woodrow Wilson. And you go, oh. And next we head over to Zach's Eatery and Bistro for some mozzarella fry sticks and barbecue blackened shrimp fajitas and baked lobster gumbo. I can't begin to tell you how happy this makes me. And then we head for a relaxing ride on the Queen Bell Riverboat and Party Barge. It's not till we get on board that they tell us, A, it doesn't go anywhere except to the next bend in the river, B, there aren't enough plastic deck chairs, and C, it takes 3 hours, and D, there's nothing to do on board except order up some Greek orange sherbet surprise at Ye Olde Ice Cream Shoppy. And at the end of it all, they ask me, Joe Bob, have you enjoyed your stay here in the city? No, I haven't. Hope I've made myself clear. All right, I'm sorry, I got off the subject again, didn't I? Let's watch The Company of Wolves. They had trouble marketing this thing when it came out because even though it has some serious blood and gore, it's not really a horror flick. It's sort of a fairy tale, but it's rated R, so they couldn't do much with that aspect. I guess you could call it an art film. That's what you call a movie when you watch it and you still don't know what the heck it was about after it's over. We'll do the drive-in totals at the first break. Just roll it. You know, they have a River Place Courtyard on the Square Plaza even here in L.A., except for the river part. Here they have the Skid Row Courtyard on the Square Plaza. You know, after you're done at Banana Republic, you can pick up a date out in front of Don's bail bonds and take her to the museum. She'll enjoy that. Okay, we're only 20 minutes into this thing, and I already don't know what the heck's going on here. We're in a dream, right? A dream about wolves eating people, including her sister. Is that how we got from the Volvo station wagon era to medieval village era? Actually, we're in a story within a dream, right? Angela Lansbury had just signed on to do 12 years of Murder, She Wrote when she made this movie, so she figured she'd do something wacky before she settled into that grind, right? You know what? I don't like breaking in the middle of a story that's in the middle of a dream, so roll the commercials and we'll get back to the movie. And oh, I promised you the drive-in totals. We'll do those first. We have 3 dead bodies, 1 dead cow, 2 fuzzy buttocks, face peeling, multiple wolf transformations, wolves wearing wigs, heads roll, hand rolls, falling tarantulas, hot poker to the hand, long tongue effects, gratuitous Terrence stamp, 3 stars. Okay, go. Never stray from the path, never eat a windfall apple, and never trust a man whose eyebrows meet in the middle. Of course, these days, men have those stylists who wax their eyebrows for them, so good luck with that. They go to those spas, get the gentleman's treatment. I had one of those ones, pretty manicure, pedicure, And my favorite part, a woman named Sonia spanks you with a crooked stick for 2 hours. Very enjoyable.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and the Company of Wolves after these messages.
Well, isn't this about as close to PBS as we'll ever get on Monstervision? Rustics in frock coats cavorting on a woodland trail. But then Stephen Ray peels his own skin off and becomes a slimy wolf whose head gets chopped off and dumped into a bucket of milk. That was one of the money shots of the flick, I'll tell you. Chris Tucker, same guy who did The Elephant Man and Quest for Fire, he did the special effects for this thing. All he talks about in interviews from the time is he was doing better than Rick Baker did in American Werewolf in London. I make better werewolves than you do. And it is better than anything I saw in the John Landis flick. Neil Jordan, you guys know who he is, right? He was an Irish novelist who became a director when he made a movie in Ireland called Angel. Here in the U.S. it was called Danny Boy. And then he made this flick. And then Mona Lisa, the one where Bob Hoskins makes friends with a call girl, that did pretty well. So they brought him to Hollywood, where he made 2 or 3 bombs, real turkeys, including We're No Angels. Sean Penn and Robert De Niro escaped from prison, hide out in a monastery. Remember that one? And then he went back to Britain and he made, of course, The Crying Game, the biggest surprise hit of 1992. And he was hot, hot, hot all over again. And then Interview with the Vampire, and then The End of the Affair from last year. Nobody saw that one either. I believe Neil Jordan is setting a pattern, isn't he? What do you think? Okay, commercials, and then back to the flick. Stephen Ray is in all of Neil Jordan's flicks. He starred in the Crying Game. Remember, he's the one who pulls the girl's pants down. Well, let's not spoil it. Let's not spoil it for the one guy who doesn't know what happens. The guy who was in a coma in 1992. Let's not spoil it for him.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and the Company of Wolves after these messages.
So werewolves are the bastard children of priests who were born feet first on Christmas Day, whose eyebrows meet in the middle. Is that it? And they get visited by the devil who looks just like Terrence Stamp. Am I missing something here? There's all kinds of symbolism here that I'm missing, right? Because the birds flying out of the well and the blonde wig and the chest hair potion used on the young swain. That weird mongoose thing on Angela Lansbury's wall that keeps coming to life. What is that thing? The critics, of course, love this movie. I have a couple of reviews here. It attempts a reading of the horror film through images that combine detachment with a visual sumptuousness. Here's another one. A renaissance for the British film industry. How about somebody smoked too much Arkansas polio weed in the 60s and got brain damage and decided to be a director? Okay, ads and then back to the flick. Terrence Stamp did his cameo for the price of a new suit. That was him in the limo. This movie is probably just over my head. I'm sure all those film students have deconstructed it and they're calling me an idiot right now. They're saying, and I don't hate this movie. It's interesting. That's what my mama says when she unlikes something that she knows she's supposed to like. It's interesting.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and the Company of Wolves after these messages.
Somebody please explain to me the little statuettes that hatch out of the eggs. I've done extensive reading on werewolves and how they relate to the mythos of Little Red Riding Hood, and I've never seen anything about eggs hatching little statues that cry. I mean, I looked at Scandinavian and Teutonic folklore, which are full of metamorphosis and murder. They didn't say anything. The Norse, those guys had lots of gods who took animal form, but they don't mention any eggs that take statue form. There's the Latvian tale, of course, that describes a 12-day march at Christmastide of thousands of demonic werewolves led by Satan himself, so that covers the whole bastard child of a priest born on Christmas Day thing, sort of. But I didn't find nothing on those dang statues. Somebody write in and explain this stuff to me. Care of TNT, 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, or email me at joebob@turner.com. All right. Continue. I did catch the allusion to the boy who cried wolf. Only this time, a minute he cried wolf. They turned Aesop's fable on its side. Either that or Neil Jordan needs to get off the prescription painkillers. You know, these seem like such all-powerful wolves, right? So if that's true, are they really going to fall for this duck trick? The old duck with a rope around its neck trick?
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and the Company of Wolves after these messages.
Well, the all-powerful wolf did fall for the duck trick, didn't he? Went right for the duck and got blown into smithereens. It's kind of a singles bar parable. But that story within the dream where all the people in wigs and lipstick get turned into wolves, that was pretty cool. That was the Merchant Ivory part of the flick. Merchant Ivory meets Andy Warhol. I know I'm stretching. I'm trying to sound like I understand what the heck is going on in this movie. It's based on a 14-page short story by an English writer named Angela Carter, and then she turned it into a script for a short film, and Neil Jordan got a hold of it and said, hey, let's make this puppy 2 hours long. And everybody went, I don't know, Neil, it's kind of a skimpy story. And he went, well, we'll put a lot of weird stuff in it so people think it's symbolic. And they went, okay. Hey, can we put that short story on the Monstervision website? That'd be interesting. I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but I'd like to see the short story, wouldn't you? But check out the site anyway, tnt.turner.com/JoeBob. And, all right, let's get back to the flick after the ads. Those fancy wig and makeup costumes, that's 17th century, right? Is that what? Well, I think that's what it is. In the 16th century, 1573 to be exact, several little kids in a French village were killed and partially eaten. And the authorities forced a local recluse to admit to being a werewolf. And in Germany, in 1589, this guy confessed to killing women, children, and livestock while wearing a wolfskin girdle. His name was Franz.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and the Company of Wolves after these messages.
The ballet dancer Misha Borghese as the fancy pants huntsman. We're thick into the Little Red Riding Hood portion of the flick now. Now, I can understand Little Red Riding Hood. Sarah Patterson, the actress who plays Rosaline, was 13 years old when she made this movie. Can you say statutory? That's what this movie is about. It's an allegory for virginal girls coming of age and being warned against the big bad wolf that is man. All the old fairy tales were lessons for children and lessons for traveling salesmen in this case. Okay, commercials, and then back to the flick. The Frog Prince, for example, what's the moral there? Girl has to kiss a lot of frogs before she finds a prince, right? See, I like that one better, because I can make that one work for me. Well, how will you know unless you try it?
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and the Company of Wolves after these messages.
She wanted to be a wolf? That was the moral of the whole story? She needed to be a bloodthirsty animal and her own sexual passion destroyed her? Is that what happened here? I don't know. I do know that to do that effect where the wolf breaks out of the huntsman's mouth, they had to have a wolf snout, a mask of the actor, and a family-sized tube of KY jelly. But that was worth it, wasn't it? The Company of Wolves with one of our favorites around here, David Warner as the father. We didn't talk about David Warner tonight, but oh well, he's in Monstervision flicks all the time. I want to let you know that next week on the show, Corey Feldman joins a college fraternity where they'd rather raise the dead than have a kegger in the 1995 classic Voodoo. And that's it for me, Joe Bob Briggs, reminding you that I thought about being born again, but my mother refused. This blonde decides, you like blonde jokes? Yeah. This blonde decides to try horseback riding, even though she's had no lessons and no prior experience. So she mounts the horse unassisted, and instantly the horse springs into motion. It gallops along at a steady and rhythmic pace, but the blonde begins to slip from the saddle. She's terrified, so she grabs for the horse's mane, but she can't seem to get a firm grip. She tries to throw her arms around the horse's neck, but she slides down the side of the horse anyway. The horse just gallops along, oblivious to her, and finally she can't hold on anymore, and she leaps away from the horse, trying to throw herself to safety, but her foot gets tangled up in the stirrup. So now she's at the mercy of the horse's pounding hooves as her head is struck against the ground over and over and over again. She's almost unconscious, and she's screaming for help, and then at the last minute, the Walmart manager sees her and shuts off the horse. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. How does a blonde turn on the light after sex? Opens the car door. How did the blonde get hurt while raking leaves? Kept falling out of the tree.